These days, more and more people are choosing cremation. It makes sense for a lot of practical, very human reasons. But for a lot of people of faith, there's this quiet, nagging question that can come along with that choice. And this is it, isn't it? This is the question that gets right to the heart of our deepest hopes. So today, we're going to look at what Scripture has to say and face this question not with fear, but with a whole lot of faith. So, why is this such a big conversation right now? Well, it really comes down to the realities of life and loss. First off, for a lot of folks, cremation is just practical, especially in a world where families can be spread all over the country or even the world. And second, let's just be honest, there's the financial side. It can be a whole lot more affordable than a traditional burial, and that can lift a huge weight off a family during an already tough time. And finally, when you're in that fog of grief, the process can sometimes feel simpler, less overwhelming. And these are all completely valid reasons. But they all lead us right back to that deep theological question. Okay, so to really find the answer, we need to make a big shift in our thinking. We need to look away from the condition of the body and look instead to the power of God. Because the Bible is so clear on this, our hope is not in our own preservation, but in His incredible ability. Just think about it for a second. Go all the way back to the first pages of Genesis. What was God's chosen material? It was dust. He is the original master of taking the most basic, humble element and breathing incredible life into it. That really sets the stage for everything. This right here, this frames the whole issue perfectly. On one side, you have what we see as final, things like fire, the passing of time, decay. But on the other side, for God, those aren't limits. They're just materials and processes in the hands of a God who creates, who transcends, and who ultimately recreates. So here's the most important takeaway from all that. Ashes, they aren't some new, impossible problem. They're just another form of dust. And as we just saw, dust has never, ever been a problem for God. This brings us to a really game-changing idea that kind of reframes what resurrection even means. See, it's not about fixing something that's broken. It's about something way more spectacular than that. The promise of resurrection was never that God is going to painstakingly find every single particle and glue it back together. No, the promise is so much bigger than that. It is a complete and glorious recreation. It's not a reconstruction project. It's a brand new act of creation. The Apostle Paul, he uses this farming language for a reason. He doesn't say what is broken is repaired. He says what is sown perishable, like you'd plant a seed, is raised imperishable. It is a total and complete transformation. And that beautiful picture, that's why burial was the common practice for Christians for so long. It was never a requirement for God to be able to do His work, but it was this powerful physical way of showing hope, like planting a seed in faith, fully expecting a harvest that you can't even see yet. And you know what's so amazing? This promise isn't just for those who end up in a neat and tidy burial plot. No, God's promise has always been big enough, always been strong enough to cover every single believer in every circumstance throughout all of history. I mean, just stop and think for a minute about the countless saints and martyrs through the ages, believers who were lost at sea, those who were consumed in fires, people whose bodies were destroyed during persecution or just simply worn away by the sands of time. Was their hope any less secure? Not for a second, because God's memory is perfect. Because in the end, our hope isn't in a method of preservation. Our hope is in a person. Jesus doesn't say, hey, I've got a great plan for the resurrection. He says, I am the resurrection and the life. The power, it's in Him. All right, so let's bring all of this home. Let's take everything we've looked at and answer that big question from the beginning with the full confidence that Scripture gives us. Let's be absolutely, perfectly clear. The answer is no. Those who are cremated will not miss the resurrection. Fire can't cancel God's promise. Time can't weaken it. And death, for sure, cannot defeat it. See, the resurrection doesn't depend on us. It depends on the voice of God. And when Christ calls, that call will be answered. The sea will give up its dead. The dust, no matter what form it's in, will respond. And God will raise His people in glory. And maybe this is the one thought to hold on to. Our ultimate confidence is not in what remains of our bodies, but in the perfect, loving, unfailing memory of the God who created us, who redeemed us, and who promises to raise us again.